The universe is cruel to those who hesitate. Tonight, a human soldier stands face to face with a shy alien girl whose words could change the fate of two worlds forever. She whispers firmly, "This is your last chance, human. Do it now or never." What follows is a tale of survival, betrayal, and courage beyond imagination. Before we begin, make sure you're subscribed to Earthborn Valor so you never miss the next story. It's 100% free and helps us reach more fans. You smash the like button if you believe humans never give up, and drop a comment if you're ready for the journey. The sky was burning. Red lights flashed across the horizon as alien ships descended, their shadows swallowing the human colony below. People screamed and ran for shelter, but there was nowhere to hide. The war had begun, and the humans were not ready. Private Daniel. Hale gripped his rifle tighter, sweat dripping down his neck under the heavy armor. His unit had been called to the front lines, but even before reaching the battlefield, he knew they were already outnumbered. The alien fleet stretched across the skies like a storm without end. The ground shook as the first plasma blasts struck. The defense wall, concrete shattered, flames erupted, and the air filled with smoke. Daniel's commander barked orders, but the noise was deafening, and fear spread faster than fire. "Hold the line," someone shouted. But the line was already breaking. From the smoke, shapes emerged. Tall, armored figures with glowing eyes. The alien warriors moved with deadly precision, their weapons cutting down soldiers in seconds. Daniel fired into the haze, each shot echoing against the chaos. He saw friends fall one by one, and his heart sank deeper with each loss. It was hopeless. And then, he saw her. Amid the terror, a figure moved differently, smaller, slower, almost hesitant. Her armor was not like the others. It shimmered faintly, and her long hair glowed faint green under the burning lights. She wasn't charging forward like the warriors. She was standing still, her eyes fixed on him. Daniel blinked, thinking his mind was playing tricks. But when their eyes met, she stepped closer, almost timidly. Her lips moved. He expected a battle cry, but instead came words so soft that he almost thought he imagined them. "This is your last chance, human," she said. "Do it now, or never." Her voice was strange, calm, almost shy, but it carried weight, like a hidden truth. Daniel's pulse quickened. What did she mean? Why was she speaking his language? And why did she look afraid, not of him, but of something else? The next moment, explosions tore the ground between them. Daniel ducked behind a shattered wall as plasma fire scorched the air. When he looked again, she was gone, vanished into the smoke. The commander yelled, "Fall back, regroup," but Daniel's thoughts were no longer on the orders. They were on her, that alien girl. Was she warning him or tricking him? He tried to push the thought aside, but her words echoed in his mind. "This is your last chance." The battlefield grew darker as alien ships blotted out the sky. Humans were being pushed back street by street. The colony was collapsing. Daniel fired until his rifle overheated, the heat burning his hands, but it barely slowed the enemy. Amid the chaos, he caught a glimpse of her again. She was standing near the ruins, watching, her body tense as if she wanted to move but couldn't. Her eyes glowed faintly, filled with something he had never seen in an enemy soldier: fear. For one second, their eyes locked again. And in that second, Daniel knew this war was not what it seemed. She raised her hand, pointing toward the sky. Daniel followed her gaze, and what he saw froze his blood. Above the burning city, a massive alien weapon ship was charging, its core glowing brighter than the sun. It was not just an attack, it was annihilation, and suddenly her words made sense. "This is your last chance, human. Do it now or never." The scene ended in fire. Daniel caught between two choices: run with his unit and die like the rest, or follow the warning of the shy alien girl who should have been his enemy. The ruins burned behind him. Daniel stumbled through the smoke, his chest heaving, his ears ringing from the endless blasts. Human soldiers were scattered, their lines broken. The colony had turned into a graveyard of fire and shadows. But in Daniel's mind, only one thing: repeated her words. This is your last chance, human. I'd do it now or never. Why would an alien say that? Why would she speak like she wanted to save him? It didn't make sense. Daniel ducked into a collapsed building, the roof half gone, flames crawling up broken walls. He reloaded his rifle, hands trembling. He wanted to find his squad, but the radio was dead. Static filled his earpiece. He was alone, and then he heard it. A soft sound behind him. Not the heavy stomp of alien boots, not the loud growl of plasma weapons, something lighter, hesitant, almost careful. He spun around, rifle raised, and there she was. The alien girl stood, in the doorway, her glowing green hair falling over her shoulders, her shimmering bodysuit almost blending with the smoke. She lifted her hands slowly, palms open, not a weapon, not a threat. Daniel's finger hovered over the trigger. His heart pounded. Every instinct screamed enemy, yet something about her eyes froze him. They weren't cold like the others. They were nervous, shy, but determined. You should not be here, Daniel said, his voice hoarse. If my unit sees you, you'll be dead before you speak another word. Her lips trembled before she answered. If my kind sees me here, I will also be dead. Daniel frowned. What do you mean? She took a cautious step closer, her voice quiet, almost a whisper. I am not like them. I never wanted this war. They will destroy your world and mine too. I came to stop it. Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle. This had to be a trick. But her words, they felt too raw, too desperate to be a lie. Why? Me? He asked. Why tell me? She lowered her gaze, her long hair hiding her face for a moment. When she spoke again, it was firmer. Because you looked at me differently. You saw me, not just as a monster. The silence between them was heavy, broken only by the distant screams and explosions. Daniel's mind raced. If he trusted her, he risked betrayal. If he didn't, he might lose the only chance to survive. What do you want from me? He asked cautiously. She stepped closer until the glow of the fires lit her face. Her voice trembled, but her words were sharp. I know the weakness of their weapons. I know how to stop the great ship in the sky. But I cannot do it alone. Daniel blinked, his pulse hammered in his ears. If she was telling the truth, this could change everything. You're asking me to betray my own people's orders, he said. And I betray mine, she answered quickly, her voice firm for the first time. But if we do nothing, both our people will die. My leaders will not stop until everything is gone. You must trust me. The words hung in the air, like a blade between them. Daniel studied her carefully. She looked fragile, shy, her hands still, raised in peace. But her eyes burned with something else, a hidden strength. Finally, he lowered his rifle, though he didn't sling it away. If you betray me, I'll end you myself. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, not of joy, but of relief. I would expect nothing less. A sudden blast shook the ground outside. The wall behind them cracked, rubble raining down. Daniel pulled her into cover instinctively, his arm shielding her from falling debris. For a brief moment, their eyes locked at close range. She looked startled, but not afraid. Follow me, she said, grabbing his wrist with surprising firmness. We don't have much time. They darted through the wreckage, avoiding patrols of alien warriors scanning the ruins. Daniel noticed how carefully she moved, always keeping to the shadows, avoiding open ground. She knew their patterns. She knew their weaknesses. At one point, they crouched low as a squad of alien soldiers passed, their glowing weapons humming. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. One wrong move, and they were finished. He glanced at her. She was trembling, but her gaze stayed focused. When the patrol left, she whispered, You see? I am already hunted. They know I am not loyal. Daniel stared at her in the dim light. She looked so young, so unsure, yet here she was, risking everything. Why? He asked quietly. Why turn against your own? Her voice broke slightly as she answered. Because I know what my people are planning. If they win, there will be no world left for anyone, not even me. Daniel felt the weight of her words sink deep. For the first time, he realized this war wasn't just about humans versus aliens. It was about survival for both. At last, they reached a half-collapsed tunnel. She paused, turning to him, her eyes shining faintly in the dark. "My name is Lyra," she said softly, "and this is the path to the truth." Daniel swallowed hard, his rifle heavy in his hands. He had just stepped into the unknown, and there was no turning back. The tunnel smelled of smoke and dust. Every step Daniel took echoed softly, mixing with the faint hum of distant alien weapons. His rifle was ready, but his thoughts were heavy. Beside him, Lyra moved quickly, her glowing green hair the only light in the darkness. She didn't look back often, but when she did, Daniel noticed the fear in her eyes. Not fear of him, but fear of being found. They had walked only a few minutes when the walls shook. A thunderous roar echoed through the tunnel. Dust rained down. "They know," Lyra whispered. Her voice was trembling now. "They know I am with you." Before Daniel could ask how, a blast of blue light tore through the far end of the tunnel. The ceiling cracked, stone fell, and the air filled with heat. Alien soldiers poured in, their glowing armor cutting through the smoke. "Run," Lyra shouted. Daniel didn't argue. They sprinted through the tunnel, their boots slamming against the broken floor. Plasma fire chased them, each bolt striking the walls and sending shards flying. Daniel felt the heat scorch his cheek. Lyra was fast. But Daniel noticed her steps faltered slightly, as though she wasn't used to running this hard. She stumbled once, and Daniel grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. "Keep moving," he yelled. Behind them, the aliens shouted in their sharp, metallic tongue. The sound made Daniel's skin crawl. These weren't just soldiers. They were hunters. The tunnel opened into the ruins of an old marketplace. Broken stalls lay scattered, metal beams twisted, the sky above glowing red with the light of warships. "There," Lyra pointed to a crumbled tower ahead. "If we reach it, we can lose them," Daniel nodded, firing a burst of rounds behind them. His bullets sparked against alien shields, but it slowed them down. He reloaded quickly, his hands moving on instinct. They dashed between ruined walls, ducking blasts of plasma. Each shot left glowing marks on the stone, some close enough to burn Daniel's armor. His breath was heavy, his chest on fire, but adrenaline kept him moving. Lyra suddenly stopped. Daniel almost ran into her. "What are you—" She pressed her hand against the wall. A faint glow spread under her palm, alien symbols lighting up. A hidden door slid open with a hiss. Daniel stared in shock. "You had this planned?" Her voice was quiet, urgent. "I knew there might be a time I needed to hide." They slipped inside, the door closing just as alien soldiers rushed past. Daniel pressed his back against the cold wall, rifle raised, listening to the pounding footsteps outside. Lyra sank to the ground, her breathing shaky. For the first time, Daniel saw how exhausted she was. Her body shook, and sweat glistened on her pale skin. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded weakly. "I just need a moment." Silence stretched between them, heavy with danger. Daniel finally lowered his rifle a little, though he kept his eyes on the shadows. "They won't stop," Lyra whispered. "Once they know you're with me, they will hunt you until the end." Daniel gave a small, grim smile. "Story of my life." Despite her exhaustion, a faint laugh escaped her lips, but it was short, quickly replaced by worry. "We can't stay here long," she said. "They will scan the walls. They will find us." Daniel exhaled sharply. "Then what's the plan?" Lyra hesitated, her shy nature pressing against her, firm resolve. Finally, she said, "We need to reach the old power station. It connects to tunnels your people don't know about. It will lead us closer to the truth I promised you." Daniel frowned. "And what happens when we get there?" She looked at him, her glowing eyes steady now. "You will see why I risked everything." Before Daniel could respond, a loud metallic screech tore through the air. The hidden door glowed bright red. Alien scanners were burning through it. "They found us!" Daniel shouted. Lyra pushed herself up, her legs trembling but her resolve firm. "Then we run again." The door cracked open and alien soldiers burst through, weapons raised. Daniel fired instantly, dropping the first one, but there were too many. Plasma bolts lit the room, forcing him and Lyra back. "Go!" Daniel shouted, covering her as she sprinted toward a side passage. He followed close behind, firing bursts to keep the enemy at bay. The passage led them outside again, onto a street, filled with wreckage. But the aliens were relentless. They chased from above too, drones buzzing in the smoky air, their red lights scanning the ruins. Daniel cursed. "They've got eyes everywhere." Lyra grabbed his arm suddenly. "This way." She led him through a narrow alley, jumping over broken metal and shattered glass. Daniel followed, heart pounding. Every second, plasma fire struck closer, each blast shaking the ground. Finally, they reached the shadow of the old power station. The building loomed tall, half destroyed but still alive with faint humming energy. Lyra pressed her back against the wall, gasping for breath. Daniel leaned beside her, sweat dripping down his face, rifle clutched tight. For a moment, they just stood there, listening to the drones circling above, the distant roar of the alien army hunting them. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "We don't have much time. If we fail here, everything ends." Daniel looked at her, his chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. She was shy, trembling, clearly afraid. But behind her fear was something unshakable, a quiet strength. And he realized then, this wasn't just about survival. This was about trust. Daniel checked his rifle one last time, eyes narrowing. "Then let's make sure we don't fail." The hunt was far from over. It had only just begun. The old power station groaned like a dying beast. Its walls were blackened with burns, its roof half collapsed, and sparks leapt from broken wires that dangled in the shadows. The air smelled of metal and smoke, heavy with silence after the chase. Daniel scanned the corners, rifle raised, every nerve on fire. Lyra walked slowly beside him, her glowing hair faint in the darkness. She looked tired but calm, as though this place was familiar. "This way," she whispered, guiding him toward a rusted stairwell. They climbed carefully, the steps creaking under their weight. At the top, Lyra placed her hand against a cracked wall. Once again, faint alien symbols flickered under her touch, glowing green before the wall split open. A hidden chamber revealed itself, untouched by the war outside. Daniel froze, stunned. "How do you keep doing that?" Lyra looked back at him, her eyes shy but steady. "These were built long before the war. My people hid places like this, in case of betrayal." Daniel stepped inside with her. The chamber was small but alive with alien technology. Strange consoles pulsed with light, and a holographic table glowed in the center. It projected an image above them, a vast alien warship, larger than a city, floating in orbit. Its core glowed with blinding energy. Daniel's heart sank. "That's the ship I saw, the one charging above the colony." Lyra nodded. Her voice shook, but she forced herself to speak. "That ship is not just a weapon. It is a cleansing tool. It will erase everything, your people, your cities, even the soil. You live on. When it fires, this world will be nothing but glass." Daniel gripped his rifle tighter. "Why? Why would your leaders do this?" Her gaze dropped, her hands clenched. For a long moment she said nothing, as if the truth itself was too heavy to carry. Finally she whispered, "Because they fear you." Daniel blinked. "Us?" "Yes." She looked up, her eyes glimmering with pain. "They fear what humans might become. Your resilience, your ability to fight even when broken. They believe you will rise one day and threaten them. So they have chosen to strike first, to burn the seed before it grows." The words cut through Daniel like a blade. He thought of The bodies in the streets of his friends torn apart, of the civilians who never had a chance. All of it, because of fear. And you? Daniel asked, his voice sharp. Do you believe that too? Lyra shook her head quickly, almost desperately. No, I believe in choice. I believe not all humans are dangerous. Her words caught and she pressed her hand against her chest, steadying her breath. I believe you deserve to live. Her voice was quiet, almost trembling. Daniel saw the truth in her eyes. This wasn't just strategy. It was personal. Why tell me this? He asked carefully. Why risk everything? Lyra hesitated, her shyness returning, but she forced herself to answer. Because I lost someone who believed peace was possible. My brother. He spoke against the war and they silenced him. I couldn't save him, but maybe I can save you. Daniel's chest tightened. Her voice cracked with grief, but her gaze stayed firm. She wasn't lying. She was carrying pain, just like him. Before he could respond, the chamber shook violently. A warning light flashed across the consoles. They found us, Lyra said quickly, panic breaking through her calm. Daniel raised his rifle, adrenaline surging. Then we fight. But Lyra shook her head, pulling him toward the holographic table. She pressed a series of glowing symbols and the image of the warship zoomed closer, revealing a pulsing red core. There, she said urgently. The core is the weakness. It controls the cleansing weapon. If it is destroyed, the ship cannot fire, but... Her voice faltered, her eyes softening. No one has ever come back from trying. Daniel's throat went dry. It was suicide. A direct strike against a weapon that size, impossible. And yet, Lyra's voice grew firm, the same way it had when she first spoke to him. This is the truth they keep hidden. Not even my soldiers know it, only the highest leaders. I should not know it either, but my brother... She paused, her voice trembling again. He gave his life to pass it to me. Daniel stared at the hologram, then back at her. She looked small, fragile, shy. But in that moment, he saw her courage burning brighter than the glowing walls. We'll need a ship, Daniel muttered. Lyra gave a faint smile, almost sad. Yes. And luck. More than either of us has. The sound of boots thundered above them. Alien soldiers were closing in fast. The chamber lights flickered, alarms blaring. Lyra stepped closer, her face only inches from his. Her eyes locked on his, desperate yet certain. You asked why me, she said softly. It is because I believe you are the only one who can do this. Not because you are stronger, not because you are smarter, but because when you looked at me, you saw more than an enemy. Daniel felt his chest tighten. For a moment, the war outside vanished. All he saw was her. Then the chamber door exploded. The chase wasn't over. It was only about to get worse. The chamber was filled with fire and smoke. Alien soldiers stormed in, their glowing rifles humming with deadly power. Daniel pulled Lyra behind a console, bullets and plasma flashing across the room. Stay low, he shouted, firing back. His shot struck 2 soldiers, dropping them, but more poured through the shattered door. Lyra pressed her hand against the wall, activating the alien console. A sudden surge of energy pulsed through the floor. Lights flickered and a hidden panel slid open at the far end of the chamber. There, she cried. That tunnel leads out. Daniel nodded, covering her as she dashed toward it. Plasma fire followed, scorching the ground at her heels. He sprinted after her, diving into the narrow passage as the chamber behind them exploded. The tunnel shook violently, rubble falling around them. They stumbled forward, lungs burning until they burst into open air. The colony lay in ruins before them. Streets of fire, human soldiers retreating, alien war machines advancing like shadows. Above it all, the massive warship floated, its core, glowing brighter, charging for the final strike. Daniel clenched his jaw. We're running out of time. Lyra's eyes flicked to the sky, fear tightening her features. Once the core is ready, nothing will survive. Before they could move, a squad of human survivors appeared from the smoke, weapons raised, They aimed at Lyra instantly. "Stand back, Hale," the squad leader barked. "She's an enemy." Daniel raised his hand quickly. "Wait, she's not with them. She's helping us." The soldiers exchanged sharp looks. One spat on the ground. "You've lost your mind. She's one of them." Lyra stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "If you kill me, you all die. The weapon in the sky will burn everything, human and alien. But if you trust me, I can help stop it." The men hesitated. Their hands stayed tight on their triggers, but doubt flickered in their eyes. Daniel's voice cut through the tension. "You've seen the ship. You know what's coming. This is our only chance. We fight together or we die alone." For a long moment, silence reigned. Then the squad leader lowered his rifle. "If you're wrong, Hale, it's on you." Daniel gave a grim nod. "I'll take that." The humans gathered, wounded and weary but ready to stand. Lyra moved among them, showing quick gestures, guiding them toward cover and choke points. Her shy nature was still there, but in battle she became focused, sharp, almost fearless. Together, they formed a barricade against the advancing alien. Patrols. Plasma fire rained down, but this time humans held their ground. Daniel fought with everything he had, side by side with Lyra. During a pause, Daniel glanced at her. She was breathing hard, her glowing hair clinging to her face, but her eyes burned with determination. "You should have stayed safe," Daniel muttered, her lips curved faintly, a shy smile. "I was never safe. Not in their world. Not in yours. At least here, I fight for something real." Before Daniel could answer, a deafening roar echoed above. The alien warship's core flared, a beam of light charging like a second sun. Lyra's face hardened. She grabbed Daniel's arm, pulling him close. Her voice was low but fierce. "This is the moment. You must do it now. Or never." Daniel looked at the squad. They were broken, bloodied, but still standing. He looked at Lyra, this shy alien girl who had risked everything for him, and then he looked at the sky, at the weapon preparing to end them all. His decision was made. "We hit the core," he said firmly. "No matter what it takes." The soldiers exchanged worried glances. "That's suicide," one muttered. Daniel tightened his grip on his rifle. Better suicide than sitting here waiting to burn. Lyra stepped forward, her hand brushing against his for just a moment. Her voice was soft but steady. "You won't be alone. I'll be with you." For the first time, Daniel felt something like hope. They pushed forward together, fighting through the streets, heading toward the hidden launch bay Lyra had spoken of. Every step was a battle, alien patrols swarming, drones screaming overhead. Humans fell, but others kept moving, their determination unshaken. At last, they reached the bay. Inside, a small alien craft hummed, sleek and armed. Lyra placed her hand on its side, and the ship's doors slid open with a hiss. "It will take us close to the core," she said. "But once we're there..." Her voice trailed off, and her eyes met his. Daniel finished her thought. "There's no coming back." Lyra gave a small, shy nod. "Yes." The remaining soldiers crowded around. Some stayed behind to hold the line, buying them time. Others climbed into the ship with Daniel and Lyra, ready for the final run. As the engines roared to life, Lyra stood beside Daniel in the cockpit. The glow of the core filled the sky, brighter and brighter, as if daring them to try. Her voice was quiet but firm, carrying the same strength as the first time he heard her speak. "This is your last chance, human," she said again. "Do it, now, or never." Daniel's hands tightened on the controls. There was no fear left in him, only resolve. The ship launched into the fire-filled sky, racing straight toward the heart of the enemy. The alien craft roared into the burning sky. Daniel gripped the controls, the seat vibrating under him as the engines pushed harder and harder. Outside, fire streaked across the colony below. Streets turned to ash, buildings collapsing into flame. Above it all, the massive alien warship floated, its core glowing like a furious sun. Beside him, Lyra stood steady despite the shaking. Her glowing hair drifted with the vibration, her shy eyes fixed on the ship above. She looked small against the vastness of the sky, but her voice was strong, straight to the core, she said firmly. That is the only way. Daniel nodded, sweat dripping from his forehead. And once we're there? Her silence was heavy. At last she whispered, one of us must stay with the detonator. It cannot be triggered from a distance. The meaning sank into him like ice. It was a one-way mission. The cockpit fell quiet, broken only by the thunder of the engines. Daniel's stomach turned, but he didn't hesitate. Then I'll do it. Lyra's eyes widened. She shook her head quickly. No, it should be me. I know the system. I can reach the core faster. Daniel gripped the controls tighter. You've already risked everything just to get me here. I'm not letting you die for me. Her gaze softened, trembling, but her voice stayed steady. Daniel, I am already dead to my people. If I return, they will end me. If I succeed here, at least it will mean something. Her words struck deep, but Daniel clenched his jaw. I don't care what your people think. To me, you're not dead. You're the reason I'm still standing. For a moment, she said nothing. Her shy nature broke through, her eyes dropping, her lips trembling. Then slowly she reached out and touched his hand on the controls. It was the smallest touch, gentle, uncertain, but filled with meaning. You are different, she whispered. That is why I chose you. Before Daniel could respond, alarm screamed through the cockpit. Alien fighters swarmed toward them, firing bursts of plasma. The ship rocked violently as bolts streaked past. Hang on, Daniel shouted, pulling the craft into sharp turns. He fired the ship's cannons, blasting 2 fighters apart, but more came, faster, relentless. Lyra moved quickly, activating alien panels with her glowing hands. I'll reroute power to the shields, she cried. Sparks flew as the ship groaned, but the shields brightened, deflecting blasts that would have torn them apart. Daniel pushed harder, weaving through fire, racing closer to the massive core. It pulsed brighter, the light so intense it hurt his eyes. Finally, they broke through the fighter line. The warship's core loomed ahead, a swirling sphere of energy crackling with lightning. This is it, Lyra said, her voice breaking. Once we place the detonator, there will be no escape. Daniel slowed the ship near an exposed vent. Together they rushed to the hatch, the wind of space screaming as they stepped into the docking bay of the enemy ship. Alarms blared instantly. Alien guards swarmed in. Daniel fired, his rifle blazing, dropping soldiers left and right. Lyra moved with surprising speed, her hands glowing as she disabled control panels, locking doors behind them. They fought their way through narrow halls, every step dragging them closer to the core. At last they entered the chamber. The core glowed above them, massive, alive, like a burning star caged in steel. Its light swallowed the room, heat pressing against their skin. Lyra placed the detonator on the platform, her hands shaking. The device hummed, its red light blinking faster and faster. She turned to Daniel, her shy eyes filled with sorrow. This is where I stay. Daniel froze. No, we'll find another way. There is no other way, she whispered. I must stay to trigger it. If you stay, humanity loses its chance. You are the one they will follow, not me. Go. Daniel's chest tightened, rage and grief clashing inside him. I can't just leave you here. Lyra stepped closer, her voice trembling but firm. You must. This was your last chance, human. And now it is your choice. For a heartbeat, the world held still. Daniel looked at her. This shy alien girl who had risked everything, who had whispered warnings when she should have killed him, who had believed in him when no one else did. Slowly, he reached up, brushing her glowing hair back from her face. You're wrong, he said softly. It's not just my choice, it's ours. Before she could answer, he slammed the controls on the detonator, locking the sequence. Then he grabbed her wrist and pulled her back. Her eyes widened. What are you doing? Not leaving you behind, Daniel growled. We either make it out together or not at all. The detonator's timer screamed louder, the chamber shaking as the core surged violently. Daniel dragged her through the corridor, plasma fire chasing them. They dove into the ship just as the core erupted. The explosion lit the sky like a new sun. The alien warship tore apart, pieces raining down in a storm of fire. The colony below shook, but the weapon never fired. Humanity was saved. Inside their small craft, silence reigned. Daniel slumped against the controls, his chest heaving. Lyra sat beside him, trembling, her wide eyes fixed on him. You risked everything," she whispered. Daniel turned, meeting her gaze. His voice was rough, but steady. "So did you." For the first time, her lips curved into a real smile, shy, fragile, but beautiful. And as the flames faded behind them, her words echoed softly in the quiet. "This was your last chance, human, and you chose well."